On behalf of IMC, I welcome you all to the day 3 of India Mobile Congress 2023. The topic of discussion we now have is securing connectivity, safeguarding possibilities in the digital age. To start the session, I request Mr. M.A. Johar, President, Project Business CP Plus, to please start the session with a keynote. And sir, if you could just come over and start.
Thank you. I think I just will take about 5 odd minutes, 6 odd minutes, whatever has been given to me. Thank you, IMC, for giving us the opportunity to put in our thing. So basically, I am M.A. Johar. I'm basically heading the project business for CP Plus. Our business is providing CCTV and surveillance solutions to the end customers. You must have heard about the tagline as Upar wala sab dekhta hai, and that is where we come from and become the largest manufacturer and largest supplier of CCTV surveillance equipments in India. Now we are taking the next step, wherein in this next step, the most important part is our friends from the telecom side, because we can't do anything without the telecom. And I'll say that in everybody's life, there is a little bit of telecom. So nobody can take the anything out of the telecom, like it was sales tagline, but I'm using it for telecom because I am part and parcel for telecom for past 30 years. So my idea of coming in is that we are basically starting some security surveillance services to the Indian customers. And what we need here is that trending technology and safeguarding communication medium. Because we are onto a security component, and the security means that end-to-end security we need. If we are taking, because that's personal life, those personal events, whatever we are capturing out of camera, when it is communicated to the command and control center, so it should be fully secured. That is what we look at from the telecom friends of ours. So in the present era, if you see that digital world is rapidly changing, this digital world is rapidly changing, and that with this online communication and the online transmission, what we need is the channels are safe. This will enable safe communication channel for smart IoT devices. And this is where we come into the picture, that whatever IoT devices we are providing services through should be able to safely communicate it back to the customer or to the command and control center. So there are certain challenges which I just wanted to highlight here on, so that when we start services, then we get the right kind of support from the telecom side. Now there are three types of services when we talk about, three type of product line. One is that IoT product line. You must have seen all home cameras with Wi-Fi connectivity, your doorbells, your door sensors, your door locks, your smoke sensors. Those all we supply it with the IoT devices. Now those IoT devices, now basically when we activate it or when we want it, then it come onto the cloud services. So when we basically initiate any kind of action with these IT devices, in doorbell what you do, if somebody came on your door, he picks up the bell, so that bell does not ring at your home. The bell ring at your phone, and you pick up the phone and you speak to the person that who is there, and you can see his photograph. So that is what is basically throughout the cloud services. You take these services. Then whatever devices, whether it is smoke sensors or door sensors, whatever IoT devices you are connecting with, it is all through cloud services. Now, come on to the IoT for communication side. When you talk about Internet of Things, so Internet of on Things, what we do is that any devices by anybody, anytime, go to any business, any network, or basically to be connected onto that business work. So that work cycle which we are planning for or which we are working for should be completed. Like you are taking a ATM service. Now somebody is getting into that. Whatever he is doing, this should be directly and in real time should be transmitted to the command and control center, so that if there is any reverse incidents or negative incidents is happening, that can be controlled or basically responded on time to save the services. Now, these all are open platform capability of cloud terminal and modules what we use. So this is basically the communication channel. When you give a instruction to Alexa, Alexa gives it to the cloud, and cloud gives it further to the IoT devices, and then it execute it and give it back to this. So that is how basically that channel is completed. Now on this cloud, basically what we put in is artificial intelligence, content, rules engines, big data analysis, OTA, security, and deep learning. These all are our applications which are residing on cloud to basically help these devices to execute the order given to them. What it helps, how it helps us? It helps us in scalability. If you have your own network, you can't have proper scalability. You can't have, means you have to add on the cost onto the hardwares and all. So why we thought of that giving it as a service is that the customer has all these features or all these flexibilities for services with him. Like he can have scalability as he wants. It is a cost saving because he is not spending onto the hardwares for the additional services. It has the flexibility. He can choose the services he wants. He can pick and choose and are not unnecessary things coming to him. Then it is basically updated automatically because it is a managed service provided by us. Then backup recovery and reliability. Reliability definitely because it has been monitored at every point of time. Like just for an example, that attendance management system, how that attendance management system works is that attendance management solutions what we have, what we provide to the corporate clients is that it's a cloud-based word management tool for employees, automated day-to-day HR management, their attendance, team leader automate team tracking and monitoring, how many have come, how many have gone. Similarly, HR automated all HR activities, whatever HR notices are to go. So these all are services we are providing through our devices, which is basically the access system installed at every gate, and the rest of all the features, whether it is email notifications or the notices or HR management, time management, that can be done. Similarly, we have got health management system, health monitoring system for the cameras you are having. So if you are using say 1,000 cameras in a network, so you can use each camera, you can health monitor of each camera, you can have health monitoring of each camera, whether it is working or not, because which is very important. Because you never know that when the incident happening, whether the camera is able to, whether it is working or able to store or not. So that monitoring is required, and that we provide through cloud. So this is what it is, and at the last, the major thing which we are adding on to these services, what I told you is that there are different kind of video analytics which customer need. Now, every customer has a different need. If you go to traffic management, they have a different need. If you go to safe city application, they have a different need. If you go to education department, they have a different need. So what we did is that instead of selling licenses to the video analytics, we have basically made a bouquet and put it onto the net. Now everybody can pick up the video analytics of their choice, pay the services for that, for the time they want to use it, and then leave it there. So for all these services, what we are putting it is basically giving customer a cost-effective security solution which is going on. Hardware we are already providing. Our factories at Tirupati, we are selling about 3 million cameras. We are basically manufacturing about 3 million cameras in a month. Those all will go in this. Similarly, app stack, what we are working on is these are, sorry, I could not do that, fire detection, advanced tourism detection, face recognition. These all the service cloud, those are the video analytics which we have put in onto the stack, which can be taken on. And these are the flagship applications which are already working, and these are basically with our customers. We are working on with traffic management. See, like we have put in about 1.5 lakh cameras for Delhi police, and their different video analytics are working on for this. Smart cities, smart traffic, manufacturing, warehousing, retails. So these all are facial recognition, large crowd estimation, PP detections. So these all are the analytics which are already working on, and we can basically put it onto the service module. The last slide is for the friends that we need a network which is malware free, phishing free, and I think spear phishing, man in the middle attack, denial of service, SQL injection, DNS attack. I think in the coming session and panel discussion, my friends would be going to take these up and would be able to provide us the network what we need to provide the kind of services customer needs. So just to inform you that this is how the step goes: strong access control. Then what are the mitigation we look at? Like you can brainstorm and then work it out. That strong access control, regular updates and patch management, what we look at onto the network side, security awareness and training, what we need this, data encryption, regular backup, and incident response plan. So at the end, I just wanted to thank you for your patience listening, and just request that whatever best we could get out of you, the similar way we can provide services to our customers, which is the king. So we together will work it out, and I think we will be able to have a chain of satisfied customer together. Thank you very much.
Further, to take the session ahead, I would call upon our first panelist for this session, Mr. Pushpendra Kumar Singh, DDG, Department of Telecommunication, to please come over. To join him, we have Amit Chaudhary, VP Cybersecurity and Cloud Practice, Bharti Airtel. I would also like to call upon Mr. Gilles Gracia, Senior Director, Product Marketing, AMD. I request Mr. Sunil Bajpai, Chief Trust Officer, Tanla, to please join them. And we have Akanksha Saxena, Director Digital Trust, KPMG India, who is going to be the moderator for this session and to take the proceedings ahead. Thank you. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. It will be a very enlightening session, I hope. And the topic for this session is securing connectivity, safeguarding possibilities in the digital age. All of you will agree that this is such a relevant topic today. And in order to harness the full potential of digital era that we are into, it is important that we focus on cybersecurity. Now we have got all these distinguished panelists today who will share the views around various topics around secure connectivity. One, we will try and understand what is the relationship between connectivity and security. Second, we'll try and understand that how next generation threat landscape is posing risk and challenges to the organization, and what are their suggestions on how can we safeguard against those. Also, we'll try and understand that how these next generation technologies can also help safeguard us and enhance our cybersecurity posture. So both views, how they are posing a risk and how can they help us in strengthening our cybersecurity. Also, we'll have a lot of discussions around how policymakers and regulations play such an important role in framing the overall cyber landscape for India. So we'll start our discussion, and my first question is for you, Amit sir. That what kind of relation do you see between connectivity and security, considering the evolution of technology that's happening? And how can security act as an enabler for growth and innovation?
Sure. Thank you so much, Akanksha. and very good afternoon to all of you. I'm really happy to be present here and talking and sharing my views amongst all of you and my esteemed fellow panelists. Uh, Connectivity we have been hearing about. Connectivity is not new. Uh, right from 2G or even before 2G, right, and beyond mobile, traditional modes of connectivity has always existed. It's all about taking that thing forward and ensuring that what we are connected to also remains relevant and secure. Uh, Technology enables and gives you lot many functionalities and features, but it's in the user's hand, it's in the manufacturer's hand, it's in the service provider's hand to make it also secure. I generally say this, that it's a time which has come now to spread that if it is connected, it needs to be protected as well, right? Anything for that matter, when you see, if it's connected, it needs to be protected. Otherwise, just move it away, move it out of the connected era, connected network. Security goes absolutely hand in hand with connectivity. Reason being, today when you talk about any device, right from the IoT, the smallest of the set, or to the data center, connecting from user's machine, from home, from trusted network, untrusted network. Every device is trying to connect and exploit network or use network. It's an interesting time when things or devices which are connected over network are being exploited against its own traditional ways of operations, and hence security has to play a very, very vital role. When you talk about security, there is such a wide space there. If I mention that close to about 85 technologies today exist in a corporate network. If I just draw a parallel, 85 different technologies provided by or created by close to about 50 plus operationally successful 50 plus OEMs who run in this space. It's such a clutter. How do you simplify things? General finding is that first create, connect, and then secure. That's such a wrong thing. Create it and secure it before you connect it. So shift left. In software world, it's very commonly known that shift left. Secure while you are creating it. Don't connect something which is unsecure. So security is not just during the connectivity, but it is pre-connectivity era also. You create it which is with security, you connect it onto a secure network, and you access anything which is secure. So it's end-to-end security which is needed to be created.
Can't echo more. I mean, security by design and privacy by design are very important. Yeah, Jules.
If I can add, and again, we are AMD, we are a technology provider, and I'm 200% in agreement with you. And I think that even on the technology, we are starting to see a change in the mindset where everybody has heard about design to cost, design to manufacturing, but what we are hearing now is design to security. Meaning that by essence, when you are creating a new chip, a new silicon, you need to think about how to secure the silicon and participate to the security chain that you have. And we will talk later on about the type of things that the technology can provide inside the technology, from a pure securing the data when the data is going through a CPU, securing the data when it's going through very high-speed networks. That's the type of things that the technology can bring to the table, on top of being secure at each layer of the software application. So even the hardware need to play its role as well in the security.
Okay, so my next question is for you, Jules. And, next generation networks, we are hearing so much about emerging technologies. Now, due to these emerging technologies like post-quantum computing, IoT, M2M, etc., the threat landscape has also evolved. So what kind of shift do you see in this threat landscape? And what kind of challenges are organizations facing in dealing with this kind of threat landscape?
Okay. So great and broad question. So let's start by the beginning about the next generation. So as Amit mentioned, the networks and the connectivity is very important. So today, networks that are linked through the India and India to North America and so forth are very high-speed networks. We are talking about 200 gig, 400 gig, And we will see very soon 800 gig pipes that are linking the big cities in India. And you need to secure those pipes. And so imagine the complexity of securing those big pipes when you have millions and tens of millions of flows going through those pipes. That's the challenge that the next generation technology is bringing. If you are coming to the AMD booth, you will see that we are bringing this technology to maturity, and we have already demonstrated 400 gig MACsec, IPsec, all the encryption mechanism that you can see. What's coming next is the quantum technology. I'm not the right people to talk about the quantum technology, but what I can talk about is quantum is introducing new security threats, because the capabilities of the quantum, the type of data that will be generated, the type of data and the speed of the calculation and compute will introduce new type of security threat. And so we are already working with partners on the post-quantum crypto algorithm in order to be able to be ahead of the delivery of the capability of the quantum computing. And back to Amit, you need to think before a new technology or before a new application about how to secure it. It's from day one. And so that's what the next generation networks will see. Higher speed pipes that need to be secured, tens and hundreds of millions of flows that will be to be secured. And how do you do that? The standards are evolving because keys are changing. You have, if you are familiar with that, the AES 128, AES 256, we are moving, the standards are evolving between the IEEE and the NIST organization. So this is very complex, and you need to have very adaptive solutions in order to cope with the standard evolution. So that's the challenge that we are seeing coming with the next generation that we as an AMD, we are addressing, and we are taking in our hands on the technology. Again, it's not a one-man job, it's an industry and community job that we need as partner between ecosystems, vendors, and at all the layers to bring to fruition all together.
Thank you. Thanks. Pushpen sir, your views on?
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, we are discussing very relevant and pertinent topic. As Mr. Giles has said, that it is basically a ecosystem which have to take care of it. Now, when we are saying that the technology is evolving, lots and lots of new applications are being made available, the connectivity speed is getting evolutionized. So what we are basically saying is, if we have to ensure security, there has to be some entity who can ensure that the equipments which are being used by all the stakeholders are secure. When I say this, what I mean by this is, see, providing connectivity by a service provider is not an end in itself. You need to have applications over it. You need to have the command and control application servers over it. You need to have end devices which basically make use of the connectivity provided by the service providers. And all these various equipments, network equipments, part of network applications, the application servers, etc., they all are required to comply with certain security instructions. Otherwise, even if one component is not taken care of, you basically have a vulnerable ecosystem, which is basically not good for the emerging technologies. And if there is a vulnerability in the let's say in the entire ecosystem, the consumers of the services, they basically lose trust in the service capabilities and the service capacities of the service providers. So in order to build trust among the users, the entire ecosystem, the entire product chain, the entire application chain is required to be secured, so that the trust is there, and the consumers, they basically keep on making use of the services. And once the services are being made use of, then it is basically a source of revenue generation. Revenue generation basically leads to development of the newer and newer technologies. So in order to have this cycle going on, we basically need to have end-to-end security in devices, in communication network, in applications, and in application controllers.
Sure. Thanks. Sunil sir, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you. So I want to take a slightly different viewpoint. I agree with what has been said. And let me start with what Amit said, that if it's connected, it needs to be protected. And he also said that and if it's connected, what capabilities it has will be exploited. Its own capabilities will be exploited. Now this is very true. And what are we trying to protect is also important. So now let me relate it to the COVID example that we have all seen. No matter how much you secure the perimeter, no matter how much you do the testing, no matter what you do, the presidents of countries and the monarchs still caught the virus. It was able to defeat their defenses and go and attack them, right? The point I'm making is that the person is vulnerable, was vulnerable in the COVID. It was the target of attack of the virus. And securing the perimeter is not enough. So while we will talk about, and it's important to talk about securing the infrastructure, the networks and connectivity, ultimately we need to look at the human being and secure the human being. Technologists often say that the human being is the weakest link. We should not think of the human being as a link that is the weakest in security. You know, that's actually backwards. The human being is the objective of providing that security, right? You can't say that in COVID, just to extend that example, the human being is the problem because he catches that virus. He's not the problem, right? And making better soap or better disinfectants and better masks will help to an extent, but may not work. So we need to think about how we are protecting the human being, and that I think we can never forget. And if the human being is connected, the human being needs to be protected. And since the human being is capable, the second point that you had made, he can be exploited. The viruses of your mind are worse than the viruses in the computer world or in the physical world of biology. So we need to protect the human being. We need to keep the human being in the center, and we can't just talk about technology. But that's not to take anything away from what the other speakers have said. That is important as well, and that's paramount. I think I would stop for the moment here.
A very interesting example. So, drawing on this example, we are very clear that there were certain known viruses, there were certain known microbes about which the human civilization was aware of. But there was a virus about which the human civilization was not at all aware of. So similarly, in the technology world, we will have known malwares and unknown malwares. Known malwares, the technology will assist us in taking protective action, reactive action, and all sorts of action. But against unknown, yeah, everyone is helpless, but it is basically how quickly you respond to those zero-day attacks or unknown malwares is basically what is going to decide the trust which the consumers are going to have. If you are able to respond within no time, if you are able to make the network up and running with least disturbance, then the trust is going to get developed, and it is basically this trust which is going to be your unique selling point, and we basically have to take all actions to maintain this trust, to keep up this trust among the users. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your views. And so my next question is again for you, Pushpen sir. If you can share some insights on the role the policymakers and regulators are playing in enforcing and driving cybersecurity.
Thank you. Very pertinent question. In fact, in my earlier interruption, I was about to come to that we have defined, indicated that it is the ecosystem which is required to be uh, secured, etc., etc. But who is going to ensure that the entire communication chain is secure? Who is going to certify that the entire communication chain is secure? And it is here that the role of policymakers becomes prominent. So the responsibility of defining what equipment complying with what security requirements are to be deployed in a particular network, uh, that is one responsibility which the policymakers can play. Second is, if the security requirements have been laid down, whether the equipments are getting produced within the country which are complying with those security requirements, there also the government and the policymakers will be playing an important role. And once the equipment have been produced, they have been produced against the security requirements, there is a need of ensuring and certifying that the equipments which have been produced in the country are really meeting those security requirements. So there, the role of policymakers in defining the testing and the certification methodologies to be adopted will come into play. And once all these three activities have happened, then the service providers, the users, they will basically be deploying those equipments in which they have trust by virtue of them being tested and certified by the designated agencies. And once these equipments have been deployed, the service providers, they basically keep on doing a lot of configurations and reconfigurations to offer new and newer services to the users. And in these configurations and reconfiguring the network elements and the networks, certain vulnerabilities, they get exposed. And to take care of these vulnerabilities which get exposed due to the configurations and reconfigurations in the network, you require some mechanism to plug those vulnerabilities which are getting generated, which are getting exposed. So for that, the policymakers will have to mandate the security audit of the deployments so that these vulnerabilities, when they get detected, they are plugged immediately, they are detected and plugged immediately. And whatever feedback is required to be provided by those activities, once again goes to the policymakers for updating and upgrading the security requirements so that the equipment remains and continues to remain secure. It is basically a cycle which have to be followed and which will continue to be followed. And it is here that the policymakers, they basically are playing a very important role. We'll discuss after some time. We'll give time to other speakers also for other questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Sunil sir.
So yes, I was listening to him and it brought out a point in my mind I thought I'd share, which is a kind of a compliment to what he said about testing and certification and who says that it is all right. So let's draw an analogy. It's like, the currency that you use, who issues it, what are the security features in that currency, what are the security features in that currency, what makes it possible to be sure that the currency note you've got is genuine and all that. So some people thought differently and they said, let us use cryptography and use trustless systems, right? Nobody certifies, nobody is the central authority, and let's create trustless systems. And they created a system, and it's very interesting to see that experiment having played out. But we must remember that those trustless systems, which were supposed to be cryptographically secure, are still not secure. Because the biggest scams have happened with crypto. To the point that Amit made, its capabilities have been exploited to do scam and hide it. And therefore, this is a battle that is not being won easily. We will all have to work. He will have to set up systems and certifications. The government will have to lay down policies. The technologists will have to work. And all of those things will come back. And some scammers and some people will exploit the capabilities that get created, the features that get created to cause the problem itself, right? A job scam, you have all seen the job scam, that you are offered a job and some money is extracted from you. You know what is the biggest job scam in $1 million? $500 million job scam has happened. Who got scammed? These very senior software engineer in a crypto exchange. Who did it? A state actor. So that's what we must keep in mind when we debate and think about all of this. So I thought I should add that perspective that we will need to do all of this and we will need to do more. Thank you.
Thank you for your views. My next question is, in fact, for all the panelists. So we spoke about next generation technologies. So how can we use these next generation technologies to further strengthen the cybersecurity posture? Any advice on this? So maybe we can start with you, Jules.
So let me put the elephant in the room, which is AI. Because AI is probably the best future technology to detect virus before the virus arrives. Because with AI, you have all the patterns, the machine learning, and that's really the future. But at the same time, AI can be used by the malware people to create malware that will be ahead of the AI. So it's a chicken and egg race. If you are looking at the sports, there is the doping race, which is you need to detect the doping before the guy used the doping which is not detectable and so forth. We are in a race that we will have to use the AI in such a way that we can detect things that we have even no clue today. And that will be based on machine learning, which will be training with all the data that will be available in the world. And that's, I will turn then to the policies. How do we make sure that we can train those models to detect security threats with the world data, where each country, rightfully so, is trying to protect the data at the regional level or the country level. And that's something that if we are not sharing at the world level information about the security threat, what's the malware which is coming in North America, if we are not learning in India how we can protect these before the malware come to India, or vice versa, and again, I'm not picking on North America and India, that could be from France, that could be from anywhere, we will fail. And so that's where I think the AI will create a policy challenge. And it's a challenge, it's not an issue. It's a challenge that will have been worked at the different policy makers, is how do we use AI for the right things, share the data worldwide for the right things, that the models can be trained, and at the same time, safeguarding the data from the people. But clearly, as innovation, AI is probably the best innovation that will help us to be secured at all the level, in our phones, in our laptops, in the data center, with our account, Facebook accounts, or whatever it is, the LinkedIn accounts or the banking accounts. But at the same time, we'll have people using AI to find the weakness point into the things and to learn as well how to make new malware. So again, I'm putting that on the table. We are working heavily on that. Some of the security IPs that we have are already using AI to learn the patterns detection. A lot of the DDoS detections are based already on AI models to learn. But that's something that will continue to evolve and to become better.
Thanks.
Yes, AI is definitely the large elephant. You walk out of this room and see the stalls proudly mentioned run on AI, run on ML, right? It is as good as you have programmed it, right? And I draw a parallel of this in what you would have seen a movie called Robot, which Rajnikant had acted, right? In the first half of the movie, we find a fantastic what a programming, this is how human should be and machine should be. And the second half, moment some minute configuration changes or a chipset has changed, whatever he's calling it as, and you see the worst thing coming out of it. And then it self-learns. Destructive technologies, destructive behaviors, self-learned and redeveloped on that. So it's all AI, which is basically taking positive and the negative sides as well. You see, internet traffic is growing, and obviously, as a service provider, as a telco, we see a lot of traffic flowing. We've seen this growing every day. When we migrated from 2G to 3G, home broadband expansion, we saw COVID time, this splurge of the broadband network. Every home is connected. Every home, there are multiple connectivity solutions which have been deployed. So there's a surge of traffic. Any guess how much of a botnet traffic would be on the internet today? Right? It's close to 60%. Non-human generated traffic is more than 60%. What you browse is hardly anything. And now there are good bats and bot bats. Everybody knows, right? You need to have understanding of this and protection against this. So whatever AI, ML we talk about, it's real. It is getting disruptive as well as friendly. So how you use it is in your hand. Yes, there are tools and solutions which are required. There are a lot of innovations which are required in the cyberspace as well. And I think the new technologies, it's a joint ownership. While government can come up and say this is the policy, but security is a joint ownership, it's a joint responsibility. You just can't rely on government or a telecom provider or an app creator to really take you around and say, okay, I will guarantee you're safe and secure. It has to be executed as if it's my responsibility, it is your responsibility. In our own space, we need to ensure that we create a world which is secure and safe.
Completely agree. It is a joint responsibility.
Yeah, basically very well said about a technology, its malevolent use and benevolent use. So ultimately, it is the human beings who are generating the technology. Yes, AI and ML, people are saying that it has the capability of generating its own or generating the malevolent nature of its own. So yeah, AI and ML is there, but at the same time, if we are trying to categorize the technologies, there are technologies which are totally under the control of human beings. There are technologies which are partially under the control of human beings. So there is altogether a different strategy to take care of the technologies which are under the control of human beings. Then there is altogether a different strategy to be adopted for the technologies which are partially under the control of human beings. First of all, there is a need of self-regulation, wherein as part of the self-regulation, the members of those who are complying or who are following those self-regulations, they will basically undertake that they are not going to make use or they are not going to harness the technology for bad purposes, that they are basically going to make use of the technology only for the good purposes, etc. So that is where the ethical use or the moral use of the AI ML, a type of documentation, policy guidelines and regulations comes into play. That is very important to adhere to those self-regulations wherein somebody has prescribed how the technology is to be used for ethical purposes. So if you are complying with that, there is no third-party certification or third-party testing required for that. It is basically just a part of self-regulation, self-control. And these type of self-regulations and self-controls, they are basically being evolved across the geographies, and they are also evolved under the ambit of international standards bodies. And also the UN is also trying to develop certain framework which will ensure that the technology is always made use for the good purposes and it is not made use for the bad purposes. So we basically have to have these type of regulations to be adhered to by all the technology developers. Thank you.
Two brief points. I was frankly shocked to hear that the botnet traffic is 60%. I knew it was high. I don't know how many of you were equally shocked. The next shock might be that how much of the internet is synthetically created. With ChatGPT creating content, everybody now using AI to create content rather than thinking and writing themselves. Even the references that you have come to trust could be fake. And even the future training of the AI could be based on content which was actually not created by human beings but were created for other purposes by AI itself, by malicious actors. Mr. Pushpendra Kumar said that we have to be self-regulated and all that. Yes, we have to be self-regulated. We have to be more alert than that. I would say in this room, statistically speaking, there are two people who are psychopaths. That's a fact. There are the two people here who can learn what we discuss, and their thought would be, how can I use it to benefit myself and to hell with everybody else. And we are going to have those people. So the other 98%, not two people, 4%. So the other population has to defend against this 4% as well.
Sure, threat actors will always be there. The next question is that how do you strike a balance between digital experience and security? Organizations these days, are facing challenges in terms of balancing both the things, digital experience and security. So, what are your views on that?
Let us hear from the service providers first.
Right. Very important thing that when technology is right at your doorstep, should you use it or not? Because it is not secure, right? I mean, anybody will get attracted. It is coming. It is there. I should use it. Striking a balance is very, very critical. I think there are various new solutions which exist into the market, which needs to be adopted before you adopt the technology, right? If you're in data center, then a plethora of data protection tools exist. And then there are two types. One is protecting data and safeguarding yourself from threat. These are two distinctly different things. How do you save your data wherever it is? Now the problem is that data is everywhere and we have created it, right? So one is protecting data and second is protecting against threat or securing against threats at perimeter level, inside perimeter level, and not just inside or at the perimeter, but even the attack surface is widely exposed. You have an external surface which is not touching your perimeter. It is still your digital zone, which needs to be protected, identified. Somebody is using your brand, somebody is using your tagline, somebody is using your identity. Outside world, which is not even touching, needs to be understood and basically safeguarded against there. Lot of data when I mentioned about COVID has expanded the horizon, and when we say that the data is everywhere, it is real. Every device what we connected, I mean typically in a corporate environment you have a laptop which has at least 2 or 3 security solutions, and then at the cloud there is something, at the data center or a server end there is something. But the most powerful tool what we have is equally capable of doing damage or doing good is unprotected. And I'm not talking about because it has a SIM and you go through a telecom network. You can also connect to any other mechanism which is through Bluetooth, through Wi-Fi and so on and so forth, right? So there are various other things which get connected. But it is unprotected at its base, right? You have not put many of the tools, many of the softwares which can safeguard its basic nature. And then we see that the first identity theft happens from the individual machine which is unprotected, right? Apps talking to each other, sniffing data, sniffing SMS and so on and so forth. Very common. I would just like to draw attention on one more point, which is what you need to tell and who need to learn. We know that cyber awareness is very minimal at the minuscule level. How many people really understand? You shout CCNA, CCNP, I'm not pointing Cisco per se, but any of the networking technology, right? You'll find plenty people. In 2 hours, you will find at least 100 people coming and saying, here is what I have certificate, take me and give me job. You convert that to CISSP or any of the security measures, by end of the day, you will not find two, right? So awareness on security is equally important. At the grassroots level, it needs to be brought in. At the college campuses, at various institutes, this needs to be taught. And there's one more thing, which is most vulnerable. Our old age people who are most vulnerable into this because of this cyber world, they have learned to use ATM, they have learned to use mobile banking, they have learned to scan things and make payments. But they are still not protected, they still do not know the reverse side of using technology. And that is making it most vulnerable. So some program needs to be enabled by individuals, by corporate, some awareness session needs to be done for them also to bring under the umbrella of saying, how to use technology rightfully and how do you protect? Identity becomes a biggest threat point and start point.
So I will add the viewpoint of the technology. In the technology world and pure silicon world, we have no choice. We need to be secure. We need to have security inside the silicon. And that's not enough, by the way. Again, it's not one size fits all. But for example, to give you an example, in the data center where we have all our profiles, whatever it is, the social media that we are using, the technology that we are providing, the CPUs that we are providing, are capable to have protection of the memory of the CPU, at the same time of the virtualized machines, which is used by the data centers to have all those applications live and running. So it's important that the CPU which is used in the data center has those capabilities, being able to encrypt the virtual machines, protect the data of those virtual machines to make sure that at the end, there is no weak point within the hardware already. After that, the hardware has always software around it, has always multiple hardware components around it. And the goal of the policymaker, and I completely agree with what has been said, is to make sure that the information that the system vendor are providing are really fitting the policy and the certification process that has been stated by the policymaker. So this is one side. The other side is, you mentioned that the user is the target. And you mentioned that old people, young people, I will put the young people, even if they are very techies, they are also the most vulnerable. Because they are spending so much time on the internet that after a few hours, I believe that the sensitivity of protecting yourself is lost because of the excitement of the game, or excitement of exchanging pictures, TikTok, switching from Facebook, TikTok, and all those things. And I'm not used of TikTok, so I don't know what I'm talking about here. But after a few hours, you are losing control about what is safe and what is not safe. Do you need to click on this link? Do you not need to click on this link? And again, even us working 10 to 12 hours, when we are getting emails after 12 hours of work, are we making sure that we are checking which email address is sending us? Are we more sensitive to the phishing after 12 hours of work? Could be. So the human being the target, we cannot rely only on the human being to act its own judgment. So this is where the technology and all the protection that you mentioned at every layer, from the application, from the, first of all, the policymakers that are applying regulation, each steps from the layer one physical layer to the application layer, we have security enforced. I believe that AI will help in all those layers. And so that's the challenge that we have as an industry, is how do we make AI a reality, and how AI will detect the fake from the fake. That's the challenge, but I really think that security, AI will be a critical component in the future.
Thanks. I'm completely cognizant of time, so I would like to, Pushpen sir, take your view on, what are the suggestions or advice that you will give to the organizations to be cyber resilient and prepared for this next generation threats?
Yeah, thank you. We have listened to almost all the aspects of security. Now, what could the action be by various organizations? Uh, Very rightly indicated by Amit that it is basically the awareness which will go a long way in taking on the security challenges. See, if you have a manpower which is aware of the pitfalls of making use of a technology, then they are better suited to take protective measures. They are better suited to take proper security measures so that they keep on continuing making use of the technology in a safe and secure manner. That is the first part. So we basically need to create awareness among the various organizations. The organizations, they basically have to take onto themselves to create awareness about the security vulnerabilities in the technologies which are being handled by them, which are being made available by them to the users. That is the first part. The second part is the actual users of the technology, the, let's say, the common citizens. They are also required to be made aware of the pitfalls of making the technology, as has been very rightly indicated by Amit, that the old people, they have started making use of the technology, but they are not aware of the pitfalls which are implicit in making use of the technology. And it is this population group which is most vulnerable population group in making the unsecure use of the technology. And one more thing, India has a very good demographic advantage, in the sense that it has a very highest population of the young users. And these young users, although they are educated, they are literate, they are cyber savvy, etc., but still they are risk takers. And it is this attitude of our younger population that they are not averse to taking risks. They basically take risks, and in that aspect, they also fall prey to the malicious actors which are looming in and around the technology networks. So all of them are basically required to be made aware about the pitfalls and what protective measures are required to be taken. And if we are able to do that, half of the battle would be won against the security malpractices. And of course, the policymakers, they will have to continue prescribing the security requirements, doing the testing and certification, ensuring that the supply chain is secure. So all those activities are still required, but as has been indicated, that it is ultimately the end user who needs to be safeguarded, who needs to be protected, who needs to be made aware about the secure practices. If we are able to do it, it is very good. And it will basically go a long way in ensuring the secure and continued protected use of the technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was, all the suggestions were really valuable. It was a very insightful session. I would like to thank the entire audience for patient listening. If there are any queries, yeah.
I will not ask question to Pushpendra sir and Amit because they will tell Debu, you are the equipment manufacturer, you take care of it. So my question is to Giles. You are talking about artificial intelligence, how it takes care of the next generation cyber threat. You think about the SQL injection. When you do the SQL injection, it is just injecting something and doing the havoc. But you think about the large language models in terms of AI. If it is controlled by state actors, they will do the injections based on this, and how much it will be create a havoc, and what extent, what are the artificial intelligence norms which has been defined by European Union, NIST, also defined by the United Nations, as Saraj pointed out. They do not take care of all these things. So what extent will take care of those things that will cater to our next generation threats?
So very good question. And you know that on the AI, we are just scratching the surface. So when we are talking about next generation AI security, we are talking about innovating on the models and the way those models will be able to itself at the model level. And again, I don't have the insight about the model that does not exist today, but that will be created based on the post-quantum and the quantum technology as well. How can those models itself train themselves, detect fake or detect non-fake data, being able to, by the way, detect if they are themselves attacked to modify their model? That's something which is a futuristic and a future innovation. People are working tremendous number of hours to find those models and to innovate on the current model. So we are talking about models that today does not exist, that are probably a year away, 18 months, because there are new models. Again, if you are following this world, there are new models coming, or models number generation 3, generation 4, which are coming every week now. Microsoft is changing their search engine for security every 2 days. So those things are evolving permanently, and we are expecting to see new models coming that will come on top of new models. And I will say that's a never-end story. Security has been evolving on the past 30 years like probably none of the other technology or application that we have seen. So most of the things are coming. Most of the things will require, as you mentioned, policy, but working together to identify what can be done and what cannot be done at the policy maker to help innovation on new models coming to fix and to address the concerns that you raise, which is very valid, by the way.
You're very right that a lot of damage can be done by simple SQL injection. Now, what happens with a malicious prompt injection? That's your question, right? Yeah, a state actor or non-state actor, anybody can do that. We may think that this is a new problem. It is not. If you go back 50 years and read a book by Douglas Hofstadter called Gödel, Escher, Bach, and I recommend everybody read it. He talks about even formal systems, mathematical systems are open to attack. The capability is the problem. If something is not capable, it's not possible to attack it. But if it is capable, as Amit right in the beginning said, if it's connected and if it is capable, then it is capable of being attacked as well. And this is a philosophical question. This guy, Douglas Hofstadter, he's alive, and he mentioned that what is happening with AI is something that blows his mind. You read his book, it blows your mind as to what he is thinking about 50 years ago. And he mentions this, that if it is capable, then it can be attacked. And he's got very interesting stories in this thing to tell. So, I mean, it's a Pulitzer Prize winning work, so do read it.
Interesting. I will surely read it. If there are any more questions, we are happy to take after this session. So, since there is a time constraint, but thank you so much for coming and for the patient hearing. Thank you. Thank you.